Welcome back to another video. Go watch my other VR videos to get the sense of what's happening here, or if not, hopefully you can catch up quickly. But this is an All-Stars video, so you will have to watch my other elimination orders to get why the cast is the way it is. So yeah, I would recommend you watch that first. Also, as the title says, this is my cast. I will be doing the original All-Stars cast the next rewrite video. Even if this rewrite video will have some similarities to the original cast rewrite that I will be doing, I will make sure that the finales in those two videos are different. So for example, if Lindsay makes the finale this video, she won't in the next video. So if your favorite doesn't get in the finale this time, maybe they will in the next video. It'll be a little bit before we get to the actual elimination order. So I'll be talking about the storylines and all that. So buckle in. This is a long one, or just get to the order if you don't care about the storylines, even if the order may look a little bit weird. So we have some notes. The monster theme is dropped here too, just like in my revenge video. The theme of the season is All Stars, obviously. For the challenges, I will keep the references to the past challenges, just switch them up a bit. So like I don't know if you all remember. I'm sure you do. In the original All Stars, they began to do challenges that were based off the previous challenges. I would keep that in here. I would just switch up the challenges just a tad bit. And then we have Boney Island, the same as last time. The winning team sends someone to Boney Island, and an item can be found there, but it isn't luck based, so whoever gets it deserves it. The aftermath, I will be bringing this back personally, as it makes the season feel like a bigger deal. This will happen 4 times. The aftermath will happen 4 times, I mean. First, when half the pre-merge is gone, when it's the merge, when it's Final Four, and then when it's Final Two. This will make the season feel bigger. Hopefully, and the host will be Trent and Bridget for a more serious tone. I didn't want to have I didn't want to keep that 13 episode format, as having a bigger cast makes it more fun for me and probably for all you too. Now, if you didn't watch my revenge video, I had a scene where like the drama robot and like Chris and Chef got arrested. So this is a follow up to that. So the cast is introduced. Everyone is there except for Mike. Chris expected Mike to come, but he canceled last minute because of what Scott did to him in Revenge of the Island, and Scott is fairly proud of himself for doing that. Lindsay yells that she didn't want to come back, as Chris is talking to her, the robot comes from behind and pushes Chris to the ground and grabs him by the neck. You can see that the robot is struggling on what to do. Eventually, the robot puts Chris down. The robot begins to roll off in sadness as he hears someone say, "Who's in the suit?" The robot rolls back in a panic and tries to get to the person who said it, but Chef holds him back. Chris recovers and gets up. Chris does say that, well, we need one more. Alright, buddy, congrats, you're in. We're reaching with the term all-star, but it's alright, you have a good placement. The cast waits as Chris lets the person out of the suit, and it's Tyler. It's revealed from the injuries that he sustained in World Tour from Alejandro pushing him off that cliff. Tyler couldn't swim away from the volcano fast enough and got separated from Lindsay, getting hit directly by a ball of fire. Lindsay, who thought the man was dead, ran over to him, but as Tyler he ran over to Lindsay, he fell. The camera then shows the extent of Tyler's injuries. First, we have the ton of scars from being cut from the rocks. Then we have the burns from the lava itself. And then we have the mental injury from being left alone in a robot suit for a year. Basically, Tyler's a mess, and he's also grown a beard. Chris picks Tyler up and pushes him to where the cast is standing, causing him to fall again, but this time he fell into Lindsay's arms, and she hugged him, apologizing to him like crazy. He couldn't talk after not talking for so long, but he did manage a very weak hug. The reason why I have Tyler in the robot suit and not Alejandro, as this will bring a new layer to Tyler's character. Alejandro being the robot was extremely cool for that one moment where he got revealed, but I feel like I can make a good story with Tyler here. It is a risk, yes, and it will change his character, but he's still the underdog that gets hurt a lot, and that's his most important aspect, which is still there, and I think that's what matters the most. So you can see we have the cast: Gwen, Lindsay, Brick, Noah, Tyler, Harold, Jeff, and Zoe all on the heroes team. Scott, Courtney, Alejandro, Heather, Duncan, Lightning, Joe, and Don on the villains team. Yes, I will explain Don being on the villains team shortly. I know that does not make sense right now. So the storylines before we begin: Tyler has changed after being by himself in a robot suit for a year, obviously. He isn't mean, but he does have a worse temperament now, getting angry quicker at the people he doesn't like. He gets frustrated more often, especially during the treatment Lindsay attempts to give him. So basically Lindsay's trying to like get him back to normal, like walking, talking, doing all that stuff again. And she's helping him with that. Tyler would never get mad at Lindsay directly, but he's more so mad at himself for failing at simple tasks like walking and talking. Tyler's also smarter survival wise. Obviously, he's walking with a stick, but despite all this, he feels like he was put in the cast as a joke Chris made. He feels like he has to prove himself as an actual all-star. Lindsay is attempting to help him through this. She gets his anger, but she's trying to direct his anger into other areas and not towards himself. Over the past year, she's been she's been trying to recover, and after not getting the same trust or feelings that she had with Tyler with other men, she simply gave up on dating, and now she has to readjust to the love of her life being back after she thought he was gone. Dawn isn't a villain, obviously. I do like a hero on the villains team though, but the show did it so badly. I want to redo it here. I feel like Dawn could be good in this role because she can tell he can sort of know what the villains are feeling, and that could lead to some interesting interactions. Nonetheless, her storyline is her trying to deal with the villains team and trying to have them work together, which makes more sense for her to do than Gwen. Because that doesn't really make sense for Gwen to be in that role, but it does make sense for Dawn to be in that role. I would have Dawn be on the villains team because Chris thinks she's creepy. Scott is continuing right where he left off and simply being a menace. Alejandro is starting a lone wolf storyline, with most people being pissed at him, but right now he still has Heather. Corny is still obsessed about winning. Her plan is to try and win, obviously. Harold and Noah are already making plans individually. So like Harold and Noah, I don't mean that Harold and Noah are working together. However, I do mean that like they're making their own plans already. Jeff is trying to find his place again, trying to get back to where he was in Island. Basically, he didn't do good in Action or World Tour, so he's trying to do good again like he did in Island. Lightning, Joe, and Heather are doing the same thing, are doing the same as Cannon for a bit. Zoe has conflicting feelings on how she should approach the game after her Commando Zori run basically helped her get to the finals and how she's going to deal with that. So to elaborate more on that, Zoe is wondering if she should like try to make herself go Commando Zoe again because that's what helped her get to the finals and Revenge Island. Brick, similar to Tyler, feels like he has more to prove after what Scott did to him, and he's still trying to muster up the courage to defend himself from Scott since last season. Gwen is sort of in the background. She's pretty quiet. She's scared to talk to certain people and simply had enough of the drama, so she keeps her mouth shut. So basically, Gwen does not want any more drama, so she's just staying quiet. Now we can finally start. 16th is Duncan. Boney Island. So Tyler gets sent to Boney Island. In the first challenge, the villains were all fighting with each other. Once the villains lost, they realized how good Duncan, how Duncan never got a true early elimination and how good he was, and eliminated him. This was really hard to decide, but it needed to be done. Duncan had semi-great placements every season, and he could use an actual early elimination without returning after. So basically, I decided to make it Duncan because Duncan has gone far in almost every season, even if he had to return in World Tour to do so. So I decided just like whatever. He's not gonna do much here, and he will be in the next video. So just have him do an early elimination. It doesn't really matter. 15th, Lightning, Boney Island. Tyler gets sent to Boney Island again. Lightning was being dumb, which caused the team to lose the challenge. Not to mention all the team fights that led to his elimination. But Scott had another motivation to eliminate Lightning as he wanted to limit Joe's potential alliance mates. So basically, Scott is sort of the main reason on why Lightning's eliminated because he doesn't want Joe to have any like potential alliance mates, like I said. 14th is Harold. Alejandro gets sent to Boney Island. The villains corrected their error of fighting at least a tiny bit, mostly because of Dawn, and they realized, despite their hatred of each other, had to work together as a semi-decent unit, and so they did. Even with Joe and Heather fighting for the team captain role, and everyone being suspicious of Scott throwing the last two challenges, because he did so in Revenge a lot, they managed to pull out the win. Harold gets eliminated because Noah pulls some strings. Noah is mostly doing this because the heroes need someone who isn't afraid to make moves, but also he really wants to be the one to eliminate Alejandro, and so Noah feels like he has to stay in the game to do so. Noah finally cares about the game because let's say Noah was pissed at what Alejandro did at the end of World Tour, arguing that he went too far, which is what we've been building up to with Noah, is him finally caring. He'll still make his sarcastic jokes, but it's clear Noah is more determined and wants his revenge on Alejandro. As for Harold, another early elimination really hurts for me to do, but there simply isn't enough room for him to go further. Now, this the next elimination gonna get some of y'all mad. And trust me, they will do better in the next video. This just has to happen right now. So y'all do not be mad at me. I got y'all the next video. So yeah, it's Lindsay. Promise Lindsay will do better in the next video. I promise. It's just that she needs to go early right now. So 13th, Lindsay. Boney Island is Jeff. Jeff gets sent to Boney Island. During the challenge, Tyler suffered an injury and isn't present at the elimination. Scott, before the elimination, went to Noah and made a deal with him. Scott would help Noah get out Alejandro if he takes out Lindsay. Noah reluctantly accepts the deal, needing all the help he can get to take out Alejandro. It's later revealed in the confessional Scott just wants to break Tyler some more. Basically, Scott just wants to fuck over Tyler. Noah follows through, and since Lindsay didn't do well in the challenge either, everyone walked off, assuming it'll be a normal elimination after they said their goodbyes. But Courtney stayed around, and Lindsay wasn't leaving without saying goodbye to Tyler. Lindsay was about to walk off, but she saw how stressed and sad Lindsay was. Courtney sighed and went over to Lindsay, and Lindsay was desperate enough to hug Courtney and beg her to tell Tyler not to go off the rails. With her elimination, with Courtney not knowing what to do, Courtney hugged her back awkwardly and promised that she would tell Tyler what she said. So now we have storyline updates. Important note, after the Lindsay elimination, Scott confronted Courtney and he asked her if she voted Lindsay, with it being obvious that Courtney did not vote Lindsay off. Scott was clearly upset, and this time Scott had no jokes. Courtney thought about it and realized that she did it because she thought it was the right thing to do. Scott laughs in her face and says that's ridiculous and how she has never cared about doing the right thing. Courtney sighs and replies with a simple yeah and walks off. Tyler is still recovering from Lindsay being eliminated. That was a huge hit for him mentally, and that low temper has gotten worse, and he's kept to himself for the most part, not trusting many people right now. Rick is still working up his confidence. He's been doing completely fine otherwise, and he feels like he's finally proven himself, but he can't defend himself from Scott yet. He isn't ready for that. Noah is playing the game. Some could say that he's a hero for trying to eliminate Alejandro. Some could say that he's a villain because of the way he's doing it. He's a gray line, and basically I'm trying to say that Noah is between a hero and villain. He isn't a hero, but he isn't a villain either. Gwen is still silent, not talking to the team, only talking to the cameras, talking to the audience. She's sort of like the audience POV I forgot what POV actually stands for, but it's like perspective of view or some shit. Whatever. I feel dumb as hell right now. Whatever. Heather, Alejandro, and Joe are all the same as canon, except they have interaction with the new All-Stars players. Jeff is still trying to work on himself, trying to go back to his former Golian Island. Zoe is still battling herself, debating if she should return to Commando Zoe after losing 2 in a row, considering the success she's had with it before. Dawn is sort of feeling things out. She is feeling the aura around camp, and she sensed a lot of anger. She's still figuring everything out for herself and gaining knowledge on the game. She's also the team's glue, and some villains like Joe actually listen to Dawn's knowledge, but most of them just think she's creepy though. Corny is being classic Corny, bossing everyone around, but slowly but surely, she's toning her meanness down. So basically, Corny's getting nicer over time. Scott is mostly the main villain of the season, even though he was in Revenge. The change, so the Revenge and All Stars villains aren't exactly the same, is that it would make Scott simply not care anymore. Scott is just insane mentally now. He just laughs at insults thrown at him. He doesn't give a shit about the challenges. He doesn't give a shit about what other people think, and he uses and dumps people. Last season, he cared about his strategy, but now his strategy is simply to make people terrified and use their desires against them, aka Noah's desire on revenge on Alejandro. Scott is still being a menace, however, taunting Zoe about Mike. Brick still hasn't stood up for himself despite Joe's constant attempts to make him do so, and even getting into the older generation and older contestants' heads like Jeff and Tyler and more. So basically, Scott's fucking over everyone. He's trying to get in everyone's heads, like Jeff, Noah, no, not Jeff, Noah, Tyler, Brick, and I said someone else, and Zoe. 12th is Joe. I fucked it up. There we go. Zoe goes to Boney Island. Heather and Joe, just like in canon, have been feuding over who's been the captain for the team, except this time it lasts longer and is given more time to develop. Eventually, Heather manages to gather enough votes to eliminate Joe. Pretty much the same as canon, except Joe lasts a bit longer. Also, Joe doesn't leave without telling Rick to stop being a pushover. So, so basically, Joe gets eliminated in the exact same way as she did in canon, except she lasted longer and she tells Rick to stop letting Scott control him. 11th is Heather. Boney Island, Alejandro, so Alejandro gets sent to Boney Island. I would have the elimination be the same as canon. Actually, no, not Alejandro. My fault. Tyler gets sent to Boney Island. That's on me. I didn't realize they were on the same team. So Tyler gets sent to Boney Island. I would have the elimination be the same as canon. After coming off a high and eliminating Joe, Heather doesn't realize that Alejandro found the idol. And no, I would not have Heather find it and then hide it. That was stupid. I would just have Alejandro find it himself. So Alejandro does find it by himself and uses the idol on Heather, eliminating Heather, invalidating all of the votes against him and leaving one vote, which was his vote to eliminate Heather. So basically, Heather gets eliminated the same way as she did in canon, except that she doesn't find the idol and Alejandro just finds it first. So 10th is Jeff. Alejandro goes to Boney Island again. I really wanted Jeff to make merge, but he didn't have the storyline or reason behind him. However, the way I would have Jeff get eliminated is Scott attempts to make a deal with Jeff, and said if Jeff teamed with him, he would give Jeff some of his winning money if he won. Jeff obviously rejected Scott's deal, not trusting him. Scott then used Zoe's hatred of him and made her too focused on Scott, causing the heroes to lose the challenge. Scott then strikes another deal with Noah. Noah once again very reluctantly agrees, and he's so close to the merge, which means that he's so close to Alejandro, and he doesn't want to lose his chance. However, he knows Scott isn't to be trusted and has a backup plan in case if things go crazy. Noah pulls the votes and eliminates Jeff. Also, Gwen is a bit upset at this elimination, considering how close the two have been since the island finale, causing her to go deeper into her shell, not talking a lot, if at all. So basically, Gwen is upset about Jeff being eliminated because they were friends since Island. So yeah. And then Scott makes another deal with Noah. So that's pretty much all that happened. 9th is Zoe. Rick goes to Boney Island. Zoe without Mike should get some development here. However, I don't think she needs to go further than this because she will have a greater interest in the original cast video, and I want to focus on the people who were originally in All Stars. And her storyline about changing into Commando Zoe is done here. She decides to not change into Commando Zoe as she doesn't want to cause harm to others, but that cost her team the game as she isn't willing to go to the lengths she had to go to in order to win a challenge, which causes her to be eliminated. But Scott obviously having a sort of play in that. So Scott does sort of manipulate the votes so Gwen goes. So then we have our merge, which is, let's change that to blue. So this is our merge with a capital M. So we have Gwen, Brick, Noah, Tyler, Scott, Courtney, Alejandro, and Dawn. So storyline updates. Courtney is slowly becoming a better person. She isn't talking to Gwen yet, but she isn't yelling or using underhand tactics in order to win these challenges. Scott knows nobody trusts him, so he keeps using people's desires against him, like I said before. It's like signing a deal with the devil. Scott comes through and gets you what you want, but he's just using you to further his game. Gwen isn't talking to anyone except for Tyler from time to time, because they're sort of in the same situation. They're both not really wanting to talk to anyone, and they're both not really trusting anyone, so the two talk to each other. She's keeping to herself once again, only using the confessionals and cameras to talk. She's afraid of starting drama again, and so she doesn't want to take the chance to start drama again, so she's obviously only talking to Tyler. Alejandro, once Heather left, became the lone wolf. Nobody trusts Alejandro, even Scott. Alejandro figured out Scott's plan is trying to tell everyone. Gwen doesn't care. Rick is still mostly wondering what to do with himself, and has been battling with himself all season with what the right thing to do is. Alejandro doesn't even go to Noah knowing that he would reject him. Dawn knows that Alejandro is right, but doesn't want to work with him. So basically, Dawn knows about Scott being evil. She just doesn't want to work with Alejandro. Courtney doesn't want to work with Alejandro either, and that leaves Tyler. Alejandro sort of kind of apologized to him for doing what he did in World Tour, but it wasn't really an apology. However, it was the best you were going to get out of Alejandro. I agree that I went too far in the World Tour video about Alejandro pushing Tyler off the cliff. Or not pushing, but like he's sort of the cause. And I agree I did go too far there, but this had to happen for All-Stars. This isn't a redemption for Alejandro whatsoever, but I feel like even Alejandro would feel a bit upset taking a year away from somebody's life, trapping them in a robot suit. Tyler doesn't accept or decline his apology and simply acts like he doesn't exist. So basically, Alejandro apologizes to Tyler for what he did to him in World Tour. But that isn't really a redemption for Alejandro. So I want to make that clear. So I agree that I did go too far in the World Tour video, but this isn't a redemption either, if that makes sense. Dawn, after dealing with the villains, is on her own. She has a game figured out, and she is worried about Tyler and senses how broken he is. Her next goal is helping Tyler out, even if he doesn't want her help right now. Dawn is still aiming to get Scott out though, just not with Alejandro. Rick is still doing good things, obviously, putting others before himself and all of that. But he's still struggling with self-acceptance and defending himself from Scott. Something that seemed to have gotten worse and worse. Don has tried to help Rick, but with no success. Noah is trying to get Alejandro out still, obviously, but he's doing some bad things to get there. And he's still blurring the lines between hero and villain. Tyler can walk without his walking stick now because he's been training with Rick to get back in shape. But Tyler's still very upset. It's clear that the game has taken a toll on him mentally, and he isn't overly mean or anything like that. But it's clear that he's different. He's more upset and has lost some of that determination he had in World Tour. So 8th, we have Noah. Challenge winner was Gwen in Boney Island, and there's no more Boney Island. Noah finally had a chance to take out Alejandro. He had Tyler, Gwen, and Courtney as votes, but Scott wasn't done with playing with Noah yet. And despite doing everything that he asked, Scott called a camp meeting and told everyone about what Noah did, how he aimed his crosshairs at Alejandro and took out Jeff and Lindsay. Noah obviously defended himself, but everyone knew Scott was bad. But Noah, and this is because Noah tried to use his backup plan, but that didn't work either. Because people expected better of Noah. Noah got glares from Tyler, Dawn, and Gwen. Courtney looked off into the distance, and Alejandro was enjoying the moment. Noah was defending himself, saying how Alejandro is evil and how he tried to stop him, but Noah stopped trying to defend himself mid-sentence. He noticed the glares. Noah simply apologized to Tyler and other people who he affected, but Tyler looked back like he was about to snap at Noah. But Tyler didn't know what exactly to do or say, so Tyler was speechless and sat back down, looking to the ground in anger. Eventually, everyone got up and left, everyone apart from Courtney and Noah. Noah went to Courtney, being brutally honest with her. She did some bad stuff in the past, but she hasn't apologized to Gwen yet. Noah asked her what he can do for forgiveness. Courtney says that she doesn't know, and she's looking for that information herself. Noah eventually decides what he has to do, Noah eventually decides what he has to do, which is what he thinks is right. When it comes to voting, Noah quits the game. Tyler looks around confused and went to Noah and told Noah what he did wasn't a $1 million mistake. Noah tells Tyler that he became so obsessed with proving his worth and defending other people from Alejandro that he lost his focus. He claims that he was never a hero, but he wasn't a bad guy either, and how he went too far. Noah tells Tyler that he's sorry and that Alejandro is his elimination now. Noah then goes to Courtney, and then Noah tells her to apologize and show it. That's the only way that she'll be forgiven. There's one person who she has to apologize to, and that Noah says that she knows who that is. Noah then goes to Alejandro and says that even if he can't beat him, he knows someone eventually will. He then goes to Scott and nods his head, acknowledging his good play. But he says someone will beat Scott eventually. So basically, I know that was a lot to digest, but what Noah's basically saying is that he admits that he did do bad things like eliminating Harold, Jeff, and Lindsay. He also realizes that he had to quit the game to sort of be like forgiven. and then he also helped Courtney realize how to um how to get people to forgive her, if that makes sense. So basically, Noah sort of redeemed himself there for the mistakes he made. Seventh is Dawn. Challenge winner Brick. The final 7 was split into pairs. Alejandro and Tyler, Gwen and Don, and Courtney and Brick. No, and Courtney and Scott, with Brick being by himself. Because obviously it's 7 and 7 can't be split into pairs. Brick had to work by himself because he lost the first part of the challenge. Brick, despite being by himself, got first. Also, I meant to say that Brick is by himself because he lost the first part of the challenge. But Brick still got first. Alejandro and Tyler, despite hating each other, got second place. And interesting enemies forced the team-up dynamic. Courtney and Scott got third, leaving Gwen and Don in last. The remaining contestants had to vote either Don or Gwen, and Don was the one that was eliminated. With Don being the peacemaker of the camp, things were about to now get crazy. So basically, since Gwen and Don lost the challenge, people had to vote between the two, and Don was eliminated. And now that Don's out of the camp, things are about to get crazy because Don was the one that was sort of keeping everyone together. And now that she's gone, there's no what you don't know what you're going to expect. But the next in 6th place was Brick, and the immunity winners are Alejandro and Scott. This elimination was up in the air as the 2 biggest threats received immunity. Scott went to Brick and demanded that he vote with him. Brick thought about it and declined. Scott demanded Brick to again, threatening the violence against Brick. Brick got in Scott's face and yelled, "No, you will stand down. That's an order." Brick for the first time was mad, and Scott was genuinely scared for the first time in his 2 seasons of playing. Scott backed off, but with that, Brick's fate was sealed. With the votes being scattered, Brick was eliminated in a 3-2-1 vote. So basically, Brick got 3 votes, someone else had 2 votes, and someone else got 1 vote. Brick gave the cast a salute and left. Tyler thanked Brick for helping him, and Brick says that's what a good soldier does. He helps others, but they're also not afraid to stand up for what's right. Yes, the lesson is a bit corny, but fits, and Brick did learn to stand up for himself, ending his arc in his time in the season. So basically, Brick finally stands up for himself against Scott, finally mustering up that courage, and Scott generally, for the first time on the show, gets scared, showing how, since we were sort of building up to that moment, it's sort of like a big payoff for Brick. And even if he gets eliminated, he's still helping other people. So that's how I would make Brick's elimination sort of like be meaningful. 5th is Alejandro. The challenge winner is not available. And in an auto elimination challenge, if you still don't know what an auto elimination challenge is, it's basically when everyone competes in the challenge in the last place. Whoever gets last place in the challenge gets eliminated. It comes down to Alejandro and Tyler. The challenge involved a rocky mountain, a callback to the challenge where Alejandro beat Tyler to get into the World Tour finale, knocking him off a cliff. Except this time it was Tyler above Alejandro, and Alejandro was the one hanging on the ledge. Alejandro was pleading for Tyler to help him. Tyler's shoe was about to stomp on Alejandro's hand, just like what Alejandro did to him over just a year ago. Alejandro was bracing for impact as Tyler heard Gwen yelling for Tyler not to do it. Courtney then told Tyler how Lindsay told her to tell him not to go off the rails. Tyler glanced back to Alejandro and moved his foot. Tyler kneeled down and extended a hand to Alejandro. Alejandro gladly took it, and the 2 raced to the finish line. The 2 were doing anything possible to throw each other off their game, but eventually Tyler jumped and crossed the finish line first. Tyler lied down at the finish line, catching his breath, as Alejandro looked at the man who he had just beaten, and Alejandro was shocked. Alejandro pulled Tyler up off the ground and brought him close, and he talked to him. Alejandro said, "You got your revenge, amigo, but don't think that you're better than me. You're not. You're like a cockroach, a little annoyance that never goes away, a little pest that caused me some trouble. However, you causing me some trouble is the best compliment I can give to you." He then let Tyler go, causing him to fall back to the ground. Tyler was simply smiling ear to ear, knowing that Alejandro was gone. So Tyler does get his revenge after World Tour, and Alejandro does give Tyler his respects in sort of a weird way. I wouldn't have Alejandro be like a hero or anything, be like, "Tyler, you're the best person I ever faced." No, that's bullshit. I wouldn't have Alejandro do that. However, I would have Alejandro give Tyler a small compliment, sort of like showing him his respects. even if Alejandro doesn't respect Tyler that much, he does respect how he beat him there, if that makes sense. Fourth was Gwen. Challenge winner Scott. Scott won the challenge and had the opportunity to solo vote someone off. Scott saw this as an opportunity to screw around some more, and he decided to eliminate Gwen. Just to keep Tyler around to break him some more by eliminating his final friend. So basically, since I said Gwen and Tyler were talking, Tyler would be more upset about Gwen being eliminated. So Scott kept him in just so he could watch Gwen leave. And as for Courtney, he kept Courtney around just so he's able to crush her dreams by eliminating her just before she can win. As Gwen's about to leave, Courtney tapped Gwen on the shoulder and apologized for everything. Courtney took blame for her actions, and Gwen accepted her apology with a nod and a half smile on the left. With Courtney's redemption finally being complete, the two hugged as Gwen went on her way. So Scott won the challenge, eliminated Gwen, as Courtney finally apologized to Gwen and completed her redemption arc. And third, this was obvious to Scott, which means the finale is Tyler and Courtney. Scott, and the challenge winner is Courtney. This challenge was a do or die for Scott, and eventually Courtney picked up the win as he got the chance to solo vote someone off. It was clear who she was going to choose. She chose to eliminate Scott, but Scott wasn't done yet. He went to Courtney and told her that there is no good ending for her. She's already done too much bad stuff. There's no coming back, and nobody will take this redemption stuff seriously. She will never amount to anything decent, and people can't change. And how she will be the perfect example. You can tell that's Courtney's thinking about if she's right, as Scott is getting into her head, as Scott moves on to Tyler, gets on level with him, and then laughs in his face. Tyler first ignores this. However, Scott tells Tyler how he may have proved that he's an all-star, but was it worth the year of his life that he lost? Was it worth it when Lindsay thought he was dead, and while he was eating the food that Chris and Chef left behind? Was it worth it when you knew Lindsay was crying at home, begging for your return, knowing that you couldn't do a damn thing about it? This got Tyler pissed, and that low temperament kicked him, and he jumped onto Scott only to be broken up by Chef, but Chef did allow Tyler to get a few hits in first. Scott does it himself off and laughs, just wanting to screw with people's heads one more time before he left. So basically, Scott gets eliminated. However, he does get in Courtney and Tyler's heads one more time. Yes, I know that Scott did go far with Tyler, saying it's more of a serious moment than the original show would do. However, I would keep that in because, like, I would say that my ways are more serious than the show, so I would keep that moment in and have like Scott really get into Tyler's head and screw him up. So the finale is Tyler versus Courtney. Both finalists had to fight things inside them to be here. Both finalists had a ton to overcome it, but both need this win really bad. A year of torture left alone on an island for nothing, or a whole redemption arc, finally realizing what's right to come up just short yet again. Either way, one of these finalists will experience defeat, and the other one will get a storybook ending. And the challenge, the end is very close. The end is very close as expected. After a grueling set of challenges, it is now a simple race to the finish line. So I wrote off both endings this time. So this is Courtney's ending. Courtney had the option to trip up Tyler here, get the easy million, but she simply couldn't do it. She had to finish clean in the 2 weeks to finish line as Courtney leaped. Chris announces Courtney as the winner, and Courtney goes up to Chris and gets her case. The case that after so many attempts she had finally gotten. Tyler shakes her hand, managing to do that, but he couldn't hide the pain that he was feeling. She celebrates, unaware of how Tyler was now lying on the ground in defeat, sweating, with tears rolling down his face. Everything that he went through, once again, he came up just short. Again. However, he had something that most people on the show didn't have. Lindsay ran up to him on the ground and hugged him as the two fucking cried, bro. As the two laid there. Lindsay gave him words of encouragement, telling him how happy she is, that they can now spend a life together. How she'd been wishing for that even when she thought he was gone. Tyler's disappointment grows into a smile as he says he's been wishing for the same, even while in the robot. Chris gives a nod of respect to Tyler as Tyler hugs Lindsay. Tyler mouths, "You earned it," to Courtney, and the episode ends with Courtney sitting on top and Tyler and Lindsay in an embrace. Tyler's ending. Tyler, despite not being able to walk at the start of the season, had to rely on his legs to win $1 million. Tyler slipped up and began falling, but that was the best thing that could have happened to him. He stumbled across the finish line first. When Tyler heard his name be called as Chris by the winner, he grabbed his case and fell to his knees in excitement. Lindsay came running over, and Tyler yells out, "We won, Lindsay! We finally won!" Courtney looks at the couple celebrating, disappointed, but she isn't mad. She learned a bigger lesson. She couldn't help but smile a bit at the couple as everyone was celebrating. Courtney was left alone. Bro, fuck, I'm crying. I'm really crying at my own shit, bro. That's so corny. My fault. Courtney was left alone until Gwen came over and gave her a hand, telling her not that bad of a run, huh? She said with a soft smile. Courtney can't help but smile and takes her hand. Tyler, as he's celebrating, takes a moment to stop it all, and he looks down at Courtney and gives her a thumbs up. Courtney gives Tyler a nod of respect and a thumbs up of her own. The episode ends with Tyler holding up the case and hugging Lindsay, while Courtney and Gwen look on with smiles on their faces. That's the video. Like, share, and sub, and all that. I apologize for almost fucking crying at my own rewrite. That's corny as hell, and I apologize for that. If you want an explanation for some of the choices I made in this video, just comment your question and I'll answer it. Also, the normal cast will be coming up next. So thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all later in the next video. Peace the fuck out.